Hi, I'm Gruff, a cute little bear girl with the voice of a cartoon uncle, and let me ask you this. Have you ever felt exhausted? Not just in your body and mind, but your soul? When you are so numb from the day-to-day grind that you want to do something irrational and terrible just to feel something, anything? Like sending all your money to your favorite VTuber just to get a thank you email, probably written by a Congolese slave pretending to be your favorite fox girl? I jest. A VTuber would never do that. Send you a thank you letter and validate your existence in any way, I mean. Anyhow, you know when you decide to do something to heal your soul? Something that will not drain your bank account and make you subsist on salt until your next paycheck? To me, that healing comes from video games. More specifically, comfort games. So, comfort games. What are they? Where do they come from? What do they eat? What are they mating rituals? A comfort game, as I define it, is that game we always come back to. We may have finished it a million times, know every inch of it with more devotion than an internet activist knows pronouns, and even if the game has no surprises left, we always return to it because it brings us comfort. Like a wife, if wives existed. That comfort can come from different places. Familiarity, nostalgia, whatever it may be. It's like putting on an old pair of pajamas. No matter how worn out they are or how covered in blood and semen stains they may be, they always make you feel warm and safe. And we all have games like that. Assuming you're a gamer and not someone who stumbled in here by accident. If you did stumble in here by accident, hello! Make yourself at home! We have cookies and hot women! So, just for the fun of it, here are my 10 favorite comfort games of all time. They're a mix of new and old games because I am nothing if not eclectic. So grab your body pillow for this is gonna be a long one. And some of these choices will be controversial because, as you're probably aware, liking one video game and not another is enough to motivate online lynch mobs and get you called a LARPer.
Would a LARPer have this many physical games? Huh?
Ahem. After this embarrassing crash out, let's get on with the video. And here comes the lynching squad because I picked the Musou game about the stretchy pirate instead of one of those based on ancient Chinese legends. Look, I don't care about Dynasty Warriors. I don't have any problems with the game as it is. It's just that the franchise's heroes never interested me. I am sure that to a fan they're all incredibly unique and complex, but when I look at them, all I see is big Chinese guy, petite Chinese girl, handsome Chinese fella, hot Chinese waifu. You get my point? But when those interchangeable creatures are replaced with more interesting characters, say, an elven femboy and the harem he seems oblivious to, or the ultimate Chad from Shonen Jump, that's when you have my attention. Hyrule Warriors and Fist of the North Star Ken's Rage made me spend hours defenestrating the malcontent. And One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is probably the Musou game I've played the most in my entire life. Now, I am not a huge One Piece connoisseur. I like the series and I read the beginning of the manga. Also, I have my favorite characters such as Nami, Robin, Vivi, Rebecca, Boa Hancock, Alvida, after her glow up, of course, Perona, Tashigi, that harpy who worked for Doflamingo, Sanji's sister, Smoofy, Pudding, Yamato. My god, Yamato! I am not beating the Gunnar allegations, am I? One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is as simple or as complex as you want it to be. You can play a power type character like Big Mom and pretty much mash buttons until victory, or you can play a more complex Sky type character like Kizaru, whose gameplay is more involved than simply sitting on your controller and farting on it to execute combos. Every character feels unique, and that variety extends the lifespan of One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 far more than it has any right to. It's the perfect game to play after a long day when you're exhausted and not in a mood for anything complicated. Just boot it up, pick up your favorite character, Yamato, and beat up a legion of pirates with more gusto than a Twitter activist repeats the exact same 5 points over and over while demanding anime to be censored. No censorship! Fan service forever!
Daring today, aren't we?
A safe choice, if there ever was one. But what can I say? This is possibly the best game in the entire Mega Man franchise. In my opinion, of course. You have to say that online or people start threatening your dog's physical safety. To be honest, it was a tough choice between Mega Man 5 and Mega Man X for this spot. See, I love Mega Man 5 and Mega Man X. Actually, I love the entire Mega Man series with all my heart. Except Mega Man X6, X7 and X8, those games can go suck a d***. But in the end, Mega Man X won because the only real reason I love Mega Man 5 is how absurdly overpowered the Charge Buster is. That thing is so strong, it's basically proof Mega Man has zero left to give, steamrolling every enemy because he's tired of playing around. You hear that, Charge Man? Mega Man is tired of your bullshit! Meanwhile, Mega Man X is simply the superior game, and the one I love more. There is a lot of nostalgia involved, I won't lie. As a kid, I was addicted to Mega Man just like an Alabama man is addicted. When Mega Man X arrived on the Super Nintendo, it wasn't just a game, it was an event. We had so many questions. Wait, it's not the same Mega Man from the NES anymore? It's a different robot? And he's more serious and mature? You can ride robotic armor suits and punch enemies in the face? In the face? Wait! When you use a boss weakness weapon, it doesn't just deal more damage, it has unique stun animations? You can collect armor parts and become so strong that you practically break the game? The stage geography changes depending on which bosses you defeat? You can cut off Flame Mammoth's trunk? Mega Man has a girlfriend now? This Zero chick? Oh, she's a tall drink of water. Why is Mega Man fighting Boba Fett? You can rip the tentacles off the hentai robot? The game has a Hadouken? Zero is a guy? It was too much information for our smooth teenage brains. When Mega Man X was announced, we expected a good game, but Capcom delivered the cartridge equivalent of marrying a hot goth girl. I have nothing else to add. Anyone who's played Mega Man X knows how perfect and easy to revisit it is. Go play it if you never have. Actually, I do have one last thing to add. I always start with Storm Eagle's stage. Fight me about it. Yeah, I am the first to admit that RPGs aren't necessarily a practical choice for a relaxing game session, especially a monolith that lasts hundreds of hours and has more hidden content than the Epstein files. But yeah, Larian's Masterpiece is a game I often choose for a week or two of carefree fun. First of all, the character creator. Boy, do I adore character creators! I love spending an ungodly amount of time customizing a character I'll never use because I always play the same goth brunette in every single playthrough. But it's still fun to create a snobbish elf, or accept the challenge of making a GIF who doesn't look like a crack addict, or create a gnome who doesn't end up looking like she'd start a thirst-trap Twitch channel to advertise her OF. Secondly, the party members. RPGs are defined by their casts. If you like the characters around you, you'll always want to revisit them. That's why the Persona games are so popular. People return to them because they want to spend more time with their digital buddies. Same applies with Baldur's Gate 3. Astarion is like your sassy gay friend, Gale is the bro who gives you advice that never works on how to pick up girls, and every female character in the party wants to sleep with you, which proves they are fictional because no woman on earth wants to touch you or even be seen with you, ever! Maybe this one does. And we both know you're lonely enough that you'd probably agree to it. But yeah, while Baldur's Gate 3 isn't the most practical choice for casually unwinding after a long workday, returning to the Sword Coast feels like visiting old friends, which is always a good way to forget how hard life kicks us in the tits every single day.
You can achieve the same feeling by visiting actual friends.
You can make friends in real life? Unfortunately, a game played by only 7 people on Earth, unlike the much more popular Super Nintendo version, which is loved by all 9 individuals who experienced it. If you're unfamiliar with Shadowrun, it was originally a tabletop RPG that mixed cyberpunk and fantasy elements. We have mega corporations, sprawling monolithic cities, and within the shadows of the concrete jungle, elves, dwarves, and magic. So yeah, it's a game where you can play as a hybrid version of Frieren and Rebecca. Oh, short stack mommy. I am not beating the Gunnar allegations, not even a little. The Super Nintendo version tells the story of Jack Armitage, who gets killed by— Holy shit! It's basically Murphy's death scene from RoboCop in 16-bit form. How did Nintendo's censors let this through? Anyway, Jake ends up more perforated than Lily Phillips during a particularly busy weekend, gets resurrected by a VTuber, and spends the rest of the game trying to figure out who wants him dead so badly. The Mega Drive version is a completely different beast. You play as Joshua, whose brother is murdered in the opening cutscene. Your mission is to find out who turned your Oni-chan into a past strainer, and make him pay. Or them pay. Or whoever pay. The really cool thing here is that while the game has a reasonably linear story, it allows you to progress through it whenever you want. Shadowrun on Genesis was GTA before GTA. You had an entire city to mess around in, and if you weren't in a hurry to avenge your brother's death, God knows how easily open-world protagonists get distracted, you could simply do jobs for Seattle's Johnsons. Johnsons, or Mr. Johnsons, are the people who hire Shadowrunners, which is what Joshua is. A Shadowrunner. Shadowrunners are mercenaries with no official registry of existence, who accept any dirty job available on the streets of Seattle.
Seattle! Stop it, you're killing me!
It's the place where Nirvana came from. Nirvana was the band that started the grunge movement that killed hair metal. The band included Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, Kurt Cobain, and another guy. The only reason they are remembered today is because Weird Al Yankovic made a parody of one of their songs. Where were we? Oh yeah, Shadowrun! An open-world game on a 16-bit console, people! You could just loiter around town, being the cock of the walk, until some random event happened, like a dude fainting in front of you, only to reveal himself a vampire when you try to give him first aid. You could choose to join either the Italian Mafia or the Yakuza, both offering unique benefits, and then deal with hitmen from the rival faction trying to peel your skin off. You could infiltrate mega-corporate buildings to steal documents or extract executives, exterminate hordes of zombies in abandoned buildings, recruit fellow runners of all kinds for short or long-term jobs. The game contains an absurd amount of content for a cartridge. And Shadowrun also brings me a very special memory. My mom rented this game for me once because I was sick. Yep, I was stuck in bed, red with fever, and couldn't visit my favorite rental store, so Mom went for me and came back with Shadowrun. A huge part of why I made this list has to do with how these games make me feel, and now that my mother is in heaven, Mega Drive Shadowrun will always be a memory that connects me to her even after all these years. You weren't expecting such an emotional conclusion to a segment about a game where you can machine gun orcs, were you? Of course there was gonna be a Ninja Turtles game on this list. I already made an entire video about the digital adventures of the Mutant Colonians. What do you think I am? This game, alongside Street Fighter II, made me want a Super Nintendo during my early teens more than a Digital Devil Circus fan wants to lose their virginity to a Clussy at age 36. Also, this is the game that made me understand speedrunners. I like speedruns. I watch them occasionally. I enjoy Arcus and a few others, and watched a lot of AGDQ back before the event became the cringe fest it is today.
Confirmed Santa's #1 helper is a squirrel.
I would really prefer if you would be quiet. But yes, you are correct.
$10 from Dracu. The Tombi 2 was my favorite childhood game, so I just had to donate for the first time.
Thank you so much for the run and good luck.
Well, at least back when the cringe was still funny. But I never really understood the appeal of speedrunning, considering how some speedrunners completely lose their shit whenever a run goes wrong. But with Turtles in Time, I kinda get it. Now, I don't speedrun this game, or any other game for that matter, but this is the only title I play while trying to achieve the most perfect run possible every single time. I always have to play as Michelangelo. I need to finish the first stage by throwing as many enemies as possible into the screen or slamming them against the ground because those attacks grant me more points than normal combos. I need to earn an extra life before reaching the second stage boss, and I refuse to lose any lives before reaching the prehistoric stage. Those are only a few of the rules I impose on myself when playing this, and if any of them are violated, reset, start over. Which is basically what speedrunners do. They play, make a mistake smaller than insert dick joke here, and immediately restart. Yes, it's annoying, and having this level of OCD takes some of the fun out of life, but there is a certain pleasure, a special type of dopamine release that happens when you do everything perfectly in a game and enter a state that's something akin to Ultra Instinct, but much more embarrassing. You're so focused that you make no mistakes and achieve the perfect run that exists in your mind. It's incredibly satisfying. That said, I am grateful that this is the only game that triggers my OCD this way. God knows I already have enough problems as it is. Remember Max Dude's meltdown when Marvel vs. Capcom Collection was announced and he realized MVC2 would be included? Yeah, I reacted pretty much the same way. I think MVC2 was the game I played the most on my beloved Dreamcast, which I still own, by the way, and it still works. Look, do you still have your Dreamcast? Does it still work? Then I am better than you. Anyhow, these days there is an entire sect of people online who love criticizing this game. They call it a glorified Mugen, and yes, Einstein, that's exactly what it is. Congratulations for noticing almost 30 years after everyone else. It's painfully obvious that Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was rushed out by Capcom to capitalize on their Versus series popularity on the Naomi board and the Dreamcast hype. They created 5 new sprites, recycled everything else they had, added a Shibuya Cabaret soundtrack, and bang! Marvel vs. Capcom 2. MVC2 is like the meal you make after one of those holidays where food is the main attraction. In America, that would be Thanksgiving. In my country, it's Christmas. In Japan, also Christmas, where they stuff their faces with KFC and cake. And after December 25th, all unsold cakes go on sale. And also unmarried women over 25 are called Christmas cakes there because Japan is based as f***. Anyway, after one of those food-centric holidays, you have more leftovers than you know what to do with. That's when you indulge the body positivity activist inside you. You grab a loaf of bread, fill it with turkey and mashed potatoes because who's gonna stop you? And you pour gravy on it just for the lols. Then you drink the gravy that is left because screw it. And you munch on your sandwich, chewing mouth open, pieces of food falling on your pajamas, fighting your blood and semen stains for supremacy. MVC2 is that, a giant smorgasbord of characters from different games who aren't necessarily balanced or even good matchups, but whose mere existence puts a smile on your face. And I definitely appreciate Capcom's dedication to reusing Morrigan's sprite for years, a tradition that started in the first Marvel vs. Capcom and proudly continued here. That is real recycling. Not separating your trash like a dork. I was having a discussion with a friend the other day about how much he dislikes Resident Evil 4. In his view, Resident Evil maintained a certain seriousness and constant sense of danger in the earlier games, that is, the PS1 trilogy. Playing Resident Evil 2 with Leon as a rookie cop suddenly thrown into the apocalypse felt more intense than playing Resident Evil 4 with Leon as a super agent who casually suplexes his enemies. I understand his point, and I respectfully disagree. No, that. I don't respectfully disagree. Him, his opinion, mother, his wife. I hope his are and I hope that someone shoves that inside that he needs to call the doctor to remove it. In my opinion, Resident Evil 4 was the moment the series fully embraced its campy spirit. Despite what fans who never played the series say online, Resident Evil was never a serious, dramatic horror franchise. It's campy, stupid fun, derived from a time when horror movies consisted of poorly made zombies, cannibals wearing people's faces, and all sorts of beasts and demons instead of backrooms. I swear, I don't understand modern horror. That said, those old horror movies didn't take themselves seriously. They knew they were absolute garbage and had fun with it. You're not going to convince me that the producers of Friday the 13th believed they were creating high art. Resident Evil 4 was the moment the series abandoned any pretense of being survival horror. Because let's be honest, the moment your hero is running away from a giant statue or being cute with a zombie Napoleon during a call,
Mr. Kennedy, I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
it's not trying to be horror anymore. This is what happened to Resident Evil. It decided to be a shooter. And ladies and gentlemen, what a shooter! Resident Evil 4, both the original and the remake, are just so much fun. I consider very few action games as satisfying as this one. The way you need to properly use your arsenal with the adequate weapon for every situation, how you upgrade your equipment and slowly but surely turn yourself into an absolute nightmare for Las Plagas, the repeated playthroughs where you just mow down everything with your rocket launcher and Tommy gun, it's so goddamn fun! Also Ashley. And Ada, because Capcom always delivers the waifus. God knows how desperate we are for those in the West. This wasn't a game I felt particularly inclined to play when I first got my PlayStation. Yes, I was a Castlevania fan, but at the time I was much more interested in Mega Man 8 and Mega Man X4. What can I say? Capcom's fat little blue psycho who drinks the souls of his fallen enemies was my hyperfixation at the time. Thing is, all of my friends were playing Alucard's horny adventures, and after months of pressure from them, I finally gave in to the seduction of this legally distinct version of the protagonist from Vampire Hunter D. Now, I never liked the Metroid series, no, not even Super Metroid. Listen, I just don't. I have an absolutely terrible sense of direction. I get lost walking from the living room to the kitchen. Expecting me to navigate the purple cave, the red cave, or the blue cave and somehow know where I'm supposed to be going is asking too much of my brain riddled with early dementia. When I play Super Metroid, I spend so much time trying to figure out where to go that eventually the experience becomes tedious and I go play something else. Like Final Fight 2 with Maki Genryusai. Maki. In fact, had I known that Castlevania Symphony of the Night was a Metroid-style game, back then we hadn't coined the term Metroidvania yet, there is a very good chance I would have skipped it. And ladies and gentlemen, that would have been a huge mistake. Even bigger than when my cute schoolmate invited me to play Dungeons and Dragons with her at her place when her parents weren't home, and I said no thanks because I'd rather stay home and watch Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Yeah. How weird is it to listen to this kind of stories being told by a cute little bear girl? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I am absolutely addicted to Symphony of the Night today. Let me explain how much. I usually put myself on a Symphony of the Night diet. I forbid myself from playing it because I know that if I start, I'll spend the next 10 hours with my face buried in it, deeper than Trevor buries himself in Sypha.
The game doesn't take 10 hours to finish!
I grind a lot, okay? If you want my opinion, Symphony of the Night still hasn't been surpassed in terms of level design. The castle layout is perfect. Every area has a unique visual identity that makes navigation easy. Not only that, progression feels natural. The game doesn't let you travel 10 miles across the map only to stop you because you forgot to pick up a specific power-up hours earlier. Even when you can't progress, there's always something worthwhile to do where you currently are. It never feels like wasted backtracking. And the equipment, spells, familiars, and character builds provide so many different ways to tackle Dracula's castle that one playthrough never has to resemble the previous one. I find it fascinating that what I consider the absolute peak of 2D gaming, Symphony of the Night and the aforementioned Mega Man X4, arrived during an era when the industry was moving away from 2D games altogether, and on a console whose manufacturer actively tried to keep those games from reaching Western audiences. Life has its ironies.
How dare you! New Vegas is the most perfect game in the series and the most awesomest. Only a LARPer who started playing because of the Amazon series would prefer Fallout 4.
We've all dealt with one of those people. Seriously, nobody hates Fallout fans more than other Fallout fans. Look, I get it. New Vegas is one of the greatest games ever made. I've played it for hundreds of hours. I've done every ending. My favorite is the one where Mr. House takes control of everything because God bless René Auberjonois. But I simply like Fallout 4 more. Okay, I'm a complete sucker for the concept of a persistent world in video games. By that, I mean games where your actions permanently alter the environment. I'm not talking about scripted events, like blowing up a city block in Liberty City Stories. I mean actions that are completely dependent on the player's choice and that leave permanent marks. The first game I remember doing that was Otogi on the original Xbox. Destroyed scenery remain destroyed forever. I've always liked seeing evidence of my presence in a game's world. And all modern Fallout games allow that. But while Fallout 3 lets you turn the city of Megaton into a prolapsed nuclear and Fallout New Vegas lets you wipe out both the Legion and the NCR before the main quest even begins, Fallout 4 allows you to rebuild the wasteland. We all know the "another settlement needs your help" meme. But the truth is that building settlements can be incredibly satisfying. Managing every settler's job, providing armor and weapons so they can defend themselves. One time I equipped an entire settlement with nothing but miniguns. When raiders attacked the place, by the time I arrived to help, the farmers had already turned the invaders into red mist and memories. And when you establish caravans across the Commonwealth and later encounter one of them in the wild, recognizing the NPC you personally selected for an eternity of walking between 2 points while being followed by a mutant cow, you get this incredible feeling of, I built this. It makes you feel warm and creamy inside. Or you can simply exterminate the railroad. The feeling is pretty much the same. One final note, I love how different the experience feels depending on whether you play as Nate or Nora. Maybe it's just me, but Nate's actor portrays him as someone who is secretly enjoying the freedom that the post-apocalyptic world provides. A lot of his dialogue come out dripping with sarcasm. Nora, on the other hand, is simply furious. Everything she built before the bombs fell was taken from her. Her home, her husband, her baby, and she is pissed off. And now she's going to take revenge on the entire world because it is everyone's fault but hers. In other words, a regular woman. Okay, we're almost at number 1. What game could it possibly be? Is it the same game that's your favorite of all time? Before revealing my favorite comfort game ever, assuming YouTube didn't do that stupid thing where it automatically creates chapters and spoil the surprise, let's talk about some runner-up games I absolutely love but couldn't fit into the main ranking for one reason or another. Hey, I have to retain watch time somehow. Ah yes, Cadillacs and Transvestites. One of the best beat-em-ups among the mountain of arcade brawlers Capcom released during the 1990s. I love these games. You just turn them on, mash buttons, and murder enough people with your bare fists to be considered a threat even by those judged at Nuremberg. It's not the most complex game in the genre, not even among Capcom's own catalog, but it's an incredibly satisfying 1-hour experience. You haven't truly lived until you smashed an inaccurate depiction of a Triceratops with a hot brunette. Unfortunately, this is one of those games lost to time. The rights to Cadillacs and dinosaurs don't belong to Capcom, which makes it nearly impossible to play legally today. I said legally. Yes, I absolutely would. If you never played it, it's basically anime Soulsborne. How much anime is it? Well, you can go into the hot springs with your busty anime friends. It serves no purpose in game except for giving you some good old God-fearing fan service. Also, it has a great character creation mode. You can spend hours in it making your perfect waifu. Actually, that's what I do. Start the game, create a waifu, save her, then not touch Code Vein for 6 months. Yeah. But it's a good game, I mean it. It has a pole dancer boss. Oh, Japan, you're incorrigible. Still the best reason for anyone to own a PlayStation 4 in this day and age. No, not a PS5, I don't have a PS5, I don't want a PS5. I don't want to have anything to do with any console that's been around that petri dish of diseases called Belle Delphine. Even more now that Sony is slowly removing our rights to own games by ending physical discs, and with their bullshit DRM and digital games and whatnot, and the PS5 is just ugly. It looks like a spread open. I do love, but I don't want my consoles looking like them. All that said, I love Bloodborne, but as much as I do, it can become incredibly stressful at some parts. Like when you face two giant sharkmen at the bottom of a well and is promptly Chinese finger cuffed by them before you can even think. Comfort game, meant to make you feel warm and loved, not used and discarded like Piper Perry on a Tuesday. This was a dirty paragraph. I need a shower after this. Transformers has been my lifelong obsession, even more so than the Ninja Turtles. No, I mean it. I've watched Transformers the movie so many times that I've memorized every scene and dialogue, and I recite them in everyday life to the point that people get scared when I do. Yeah. That said, I absolutely love Transformers Fall of Cybertron, because why would I play an over-the-shoulder shooter with an illiterate steroid addict like Marcus Phoenix when I can do the same thing as Optimus Prime? Unfortunately, this game doesn't make the main list because it's not really consistent in its gameplay. Some levels are an absolute blast to play, such as Grimlocks and Megatrons. Others are complete slugfests, like Swindles and Starscreams. Still, I appreciate how the game treats its source material with an impressive level of reverence and competence. It gave genuine dramatic weight to what Orson Welles once described as toys that do horrible things to each other. Well said, Mr. Welles. Very well said. As much as I love the Persona series, I cannot in good conscience place it anywhere on the main list. Sure, it's always fun returning to Inaba or Tokyo, seeing your friends again, living the life of a typical Japanese student, going to school, participating in extracurricular activities, solving murders, altering people's personalities through the use of a parallel dimension, banging your hot teacher. Unfortunately, trying to balance that entire schedule in a way that allows you to reach the end of the game without missing anything can be incredibly stressful, even if you play the games a million times. It's far too easy to get distracted and miss that one day when you could have hung out with Haru to maximize her social link, and then lose 140 hours of progress. Again! Damn it, Haru! Why do you join the party so late? I know what you're thinking, but behind all the curvy women and fan service lies a genuinely competent wrestling game. In fact, it's more competent than most modern WWE titles. The game is also a technical marvel on the PlayStation 2, featuring incredible graphics for its time and a very original system where wrestlers can perform heel-face turns and vice versa depending on their actions in the ring. This transforms them into entirely different characters with new moves and animations. Also, the game features unique match types such as mud wrestling and yeah, I'm never beating the Gunner allegations. And my favorite comfort game of all time is... There couldn't possibly be a safer choice. Well, maybe Super Metroid, but f*** that game. Alas, Chrono Trigger is a very special game to me, and I remember exactly the day I played it for the first time. It was the first day of school vacation, and it was damn cold. In my country, school vacation happens during winter, a giant middle finger to extroverted kids. Anyway, it was cold. The sky is grey cold. London cold. The kind of cold that makes you understand the weird kid that never left his home and just stared menacingly at other children from his window. It was a Friday, and I went to my favorite rental store to pick up some games for the weekend. And there it was, Chrono Trigger. I didn't know much about it at the time, but I was already familiar with Dragon Ball Z, and Akira Toriyama's unmistakable art style on the box immediately won me over. I went home, inserted a cartridge into my Super Nintendo, and started playing. 2 hours later, my mother went into my room and asked if everything was okay because she had never seen me that quiet while playing a game. Yeah, I was the kid who shouted in excitement or frustration at every major development in a game. With Chrono Trigger, there was only silence. Now, I could spend hours talking about how this game is lightning in a bottle, how it was created by some of the most brilliant creative minds of all time, how we'll probably never get another game this perfect, especially in this increasingly corporate and creativity-starved gaming industry. Chrono Trigger remains visually stunning even by today's standards. Its soundtrack is phenomenal, its story is simple but captivating, its characters are always a joy to revisit, but more than any of those things, my love for this game comes from how it makes me feel. Every time I play Chrono Trigger, I am remembered of that gray afternoon, of how carefree life was when I was young before all the burdens of adulthood. I've been a gamer my entire life, and I tend to associate many moments from my past with games that left a mark on me. The moments I started friendships with like-minded people, tranquil nights at home with only the game's sounds to keep me company in the dark, how exploring digital worlds sometimes was what I needed to get over a heartbreak. Chrono Trigger reminds me of a moment of absolute peace, a feeling of tranquility that becomes increasingly rare as we grow older, a moment when nothing existed except me and the adventure unfolding on my TV screen. That night, I played until the wee hours of the morning, back when I could stay up late without suffering the consequences the next day. And when I woke up, I immediately continued my journey. On Monday, when I returned the game to the rental store, I asked the owner if she'd be willing to sell it to me. She emphatically said no. It was a hot new release, highly sought after, and she couldn't possibly part with it. 6 months later, she sold it to me because I was the only person renting it. Haha. And I still own it to this day. With the box, the manual, the posters, everything. Chrono Trigger is not just a game to me, it's a memory from happier days. And every time I go back to it, it's like those days never truly ended. And that's it! Those are the games I play whenever I want to feel warm, comfortable, and at peace with life. What about you? What are your comfort games? The ones you boot up whenever you get home stressed out and just want to decompress? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one of them, and if you're a good boy or girl, I leave you a heart because I love you. And if you watched this video all the way to the end, thank you. It means the world to me. And that's all for today. I'll see you again very, very soon. Until then, take care of yourselves and everyone you love. Cheers!